Pac-12 in a very vulnerable position. And now, if reports are accurate that we're hearing about Washington and Oregon applying to the Big Ten, then the Pac-12 would be on life support as a Power 5 at least.
Yeah, just to start, it's funny because, as you said, I was expecting the month of July was kind of my last slowish month. Recruiting picks up some, maybe some commitments, but we'd be previewing who might be on the depth chart, not trying to predict which conference Oregon will be playing at in the not too distant future. So very strange times. Yesterday was a roller coaster of learning the USC UCLA news, all the speculation around Oregon. I won't try to confirm or even really validate the reports about Oregon applying to the Big Ten. I haven't heard that confirmed, or haven't heard enough to really say that. Same thing with Washington. Obviously, I don't cover that program, but if that does take place, I think you look at the Pac-12 and you go, well, obviously it's not the Pac-12 because they won't have that many member schools, but you just kind of go, well, what's the future here? And I think it seems almost more likely the conference is almost fully dissolved, or some sort of remnants are left, and you're kind of almost like a Mountain West caliber program. I mean, I don't know, or conference, I don't know. But for Oregon, I'd be really surprised if they sat on their hands and, just accepted the fate of sticking around in a conference which is not going to be considered very viable. Recently, prior to this news, wasn't very viable for the college football playoff. It really kind of required everything breaking right. So I would be stunned if Oregon is in a position where they say, hey, we're just going to sit. We're going to be fine here in the Pac-12. I've seen some people say maybe you can play out kind of like a Clemson model of you're in the ACC, you're the dominant program, you still get a look. I don't know if that's going to happen because, frankly, the Pac-12 without USC and UCLA aren't even really close to the caliber, I don't think, as what the ACC is, even though the ACC hasn't had a whole lot of big dogs. So I think if you're Oregon, you try to move. I think the Big Ten makes a ton of sense. I think Oregon and Washington, or Oregon and Stanford, Washington, Utah, Cal, some of these schools that are AAU members make a lot of sense for the Big Ten to take a look at if they're trying to expand. I mean, there's been some conjecture. Again, I'm not reporting about maybe moving to 2-10 division conference, that kind of thing, 20 teams in the Big Ten, and having an East, having a West, and Oregon being a part of that. I think if that is the ultimate plan, I don't see how Oregon gets left out of that. I think USC, UCLA, Oregon, I mean, those are some of the biggest brands. I don't see Oregon being left out, but it's just, how does this want to be? How quickly does this happen? How organically are the questions I have? And I do think, just a final thought on this, I know we'll probably keep talking about it, but I would probably be surprised if Oregon left for the Big Ten, if Oregon State follows, would bring the end to, I wouldn't say the rivalry, because I bet they try like hell to schedule a season, every single season, a rivalry game, but Oregon State is not an AAU member school. The Big Ten, I think, has almost exclusively, Nebraska might be the only one. I don't know if they have applied and received it or something, that isn't an AAU member school. Be hard for me to see the Big Ten making an exclusion for a program like Oregon State, who's frankly not bringing the kind of visibility that Nebraska does, even the market that Nebraska does, and certainly not the programs. So, that would be very strange if you're, an Oregon fan, an Oregon State fan, and you're not competing in the same conference, even though you're 50, 60 miles apart.